is Sunday, October 12th of 2025. And right now I'm heading out to Unicoi Gap. Going to drop Jordan there. He's going to hike south to Neel Gap over the next couple of days while his vehicle's being repaired. It's a gorgeous day. Blue sky, sunshine, 71 degrees. Really, really pretty out right now. Leaves are starting to change color. It's great hiking weather. So after I drop Jordan at Unicoi, I'm going into Indian Grave Gap. Going to get a rider and their dog over to Neel, and then at Neel I'm picking up some riders I dropped at Springer the other day and getting them back to Atlanta. So gorgeous day, beautiful day for whatever it is we're all doing outside, and looking forward to it. I'll be back later. Alright, heading out to Unicoi Gap and then Indian Grave Gap, and you can see up there in the tops of the mountain, look at the color change. Awesome. I'll be back with more colors today later on. Alright, Jordan and I have made it out here across the mountain, and I'm dropping him here at Hog Pen Gap. And this is the parking area right here on the left hand side, and oh boy, there are lots of vehicles in here today. Everybody's outside taking advantage of the good weather. Some people have a 3-day weekend with the holiday tomorrow, so everybody's outside. Blue skies, sunshine, and gorgeous temperatures. So this is Unicoi Gap, mile 52, as you hike north out of Springer Mountain Trailhead. All right, Jordan, you have a great hike, and I will be back later. And Jordan's going to move on his way now, getting us video and pictures and information. All right, I'll be back. All right, so I'm here at Unicoi Gap, got Jordan dropped off, and he is on his way for his hike. And now I am heading down the road just a little bit to Indian Grave Gap Road, and I'm going to go in there and follow it out to the gap, where I'm going to meet the rider somewhere between 2 and 2:15 p.m., getting them to Neel Gap. Later on after that, Neel Gap to Atlanta near the airport for a hotel. Alright, it's a gorgeous day out here. It is 65 degrees and people are out everywhere. Everybody's enjoying the beautiful weekend and the weather that we are having. Alright, back in a little bit. Alright, so I've made my way down from Unicoi Gap, and I am now taking a right-hand turn. This is on the Hiawassee side onto Indian Grave Gap Road, or 283 as it is known for, the Forest Service Road. I'm going to go down in here a couple miles and meet the rider at Indian Grave Gap, get them over to Neel Gap. Alright, this road can be tight in some areas, so I'm going to hang out here until this car comes by. Alright, I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, just started my way down Indian Grave Gap Road now, and making my way up to the gap itself. We're going to go by High Shoals parking area in a little bit. A lot of folks park there and walk down to the waterfalls. About a mile to mile and a half hike. So first thing we're going to do is make this water crossing here and continue on. As you can see so far, a lot of good color change starting to happen in here. Super excited about that. I'll be getting some video and maybe some pictures of the leaves with their color change starting to happen. Alright, water crossing there, continuing on to Indian Grave Gap. I'll be back later. So I've made my way up Indian Grave Gap Road so far, and this is the parking for High Shoals Falls. It's stretching down the road here, and you can see sometimes it's a little bit of a tight squeeze as people are trying to make their way up and down the roads. So this car's coming out, passing them. It's not too bad here. Got another one coming, but they moved parking to this side of the road, because as you come up here around the corner, I do expect to see people parking where they aren't supposed to, but no, it looks pretty good. Sometimes even the places that aren't supposed to be parked in are full of people parking, and you're having a hard time squeezing through. So this is awesome, and just going to continue to make our way up the road here. So if people aren't careful, it can block in everybody that's trying to come through here. All right, continuing on up to Indian Grave Gap. All right, well, coming in was really good. It's sometimes hard for everybody to squeak on through, but if everybody works together like back there, it works out pretty decent. Okay, so people are starting to get out here. It is Sunday, so folks are getting out here a little bit later because, they have church and other things. A lot of folks come up from the city, so it takes them some time to get up in here. But that's the area for parking for High Shoals Falls. And now I am continuing on to Indian Grave Gap, where I'm going to meet the rider and their Gap Road, Forest Service Road 283. That's out. If you're coming from Hiawassee, you would take a left-hand turn, and if you're coming down from Unicoi Gap or the Helen direction, you take a right-hand turn onto that road and make your way down in here. All right, I am early. I'm going to wait for the rider to arrive and get them over to Neel Gap. Okay, I'll be back a bit later.